Craig, how are you?
I'm doing good. You need a haircut.
Hello.
And we're just waiting to go live on Facebook. Please
Try
stand by.
stopping the video and starting it again, maybe?
Why do we have to look at Lori?
You could change that in the upper right on Gallatin
No,
view.
I would be more than happy to get off of here.
In about 45 minutes, I guess.
Calm down.
And this is what, see, this is water, Craig.
About to be live on Facebook. Please stand by.
And we are 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Webinar is now streaming live on Facebook. John Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. I appreciate your introduction. Anytime. I want to call the City of Gallatin Council Committee meeting April 28th, 2020, 6 p.m. electronic meeting. Pertinent to Governor Lee's Executive Order number 16 and the need to limit the community spread of COVID-19. The April 28th, 2020 Gallatin City Council Committee meeting will be held by electronic meeting. The meeting will be live streamed to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of the council and citizens of Gallatin. Instructions for public participation in the meeting are available on the city website. This time we're going to vote on the meeting electronic. Mr. Kittrell.
Vice Mayor Camp,
Present.
Councilman Alexander,
Yes.
Councilman Fan,
Yes.
Councilman Fennell,
Here.
Councilman Hayes,
Present.
Ms. Love. I can't hear Ms. Love, but I know she was here a minute ago.
She's here.
And Councilman Overton,
Yes.
it's unanimous.
Okay, so we can't have this meeting electronic, and I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Do we need to do a roll call also again?
Vice Mayor Camp,
Present.
Mr. Alexander,
Present.
Mr. Fan,
Here.
Mr. Fennell,
Here.
Mr. Hayes,
Present.
Ms. Love. I know she's here, but I cannot hear her. And Mr. Overton.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Ms. Kittrell. Now I'm gonna ask for approval of the minutes for April 14, 2020 Council Committee electronic meeting.
And
Give me
also
a
moved.
motion to approve.
Second by Councilman Hayes.
Motion by Mr. Overton, second by Mr. Hayes. All in favor, we got electronic vote. All in favor of approving the minutes. We need to do it by electronic.
You have to do it by roll call vote.
Roll call vote, yes.
Vice Mayor Camp,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Fan,
Yes.
Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Ms. Love. Can't hear her, but no, she's here on the screen. And Mr. Overton.
Yes.
It passed.
Thank you all so much. Now we're going to ask for public recognition. If there's anyone from the public who would like to speak at this time, you may do so. Turn it over to Jeff.
Yeah, we're going to the lines now. We have a caller with the last 3 digits of 688. Your mic is open. Do you wish to speak?
Yeah, Pascal here. Good evening. I'm trying to watch you guys online and get an error saying the service is temporarily unavailable. Are you aware of that?
No, we wasn't. You should be able to access the meeting.
Do you have any further comments?
No, that's the only comment I have is trying to see what's going on. So,
Can you hear us pretty clearly? Just can't see.
yeah, say the live meeting, there is a window which says service is temporarily unavailable. Our technicians are busy updating the platform and the service should be back to normal soon. So I don't know if it's just just us or if it's global stuff.
Yeah, I just looked it up and it's working here.
Trying to see what's going on. So.
Looked it up on my phone.
I got,
Yeah.
I got a little window over here.
Are you on the Zoom attendee link?
No, I was on the TV, on the Gallatin TV.
Probably need to be on Zoom. It's working on Zoom.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Zoom.
Let's move on, y'all.
It's watched on it's on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else from the public at this time? We're still on the public recognition.
Chuck
Anyone else?
Gregory, your mic is open. You have something you'd like to say?
I'm here on behalf of Rosemont, requesting the money to keep us going for at least through September. It costs us about $4,000 a month.
Chuck, it's item number. Chuck, it's not open right now. It's item number 4. So if we need you, we'll holler at you on that.
All right. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you.
And we have a Jane. Go ahead, Jane. You wish to speak, Jane? Okay, and we have, and that's all of them.
Jeff, Jane was still muted.
All right, I was
Ja-
hitting unmute. She appears to be muted.
Jane's here on the same item, y'all.
Okay.
On item number 4, Rosemont?
Yeah, that's right. She's here on that item.
Okay, we can open that up again at that time. It's okay with you all.
That's everyone.
Is that all on public recognition? This time I declare public recognition closed. We ask the mayor for her comments at this time.
Thank you. I just want to update you just a little bit on the coronavirus situation right now. Today, the state reported 10,052 cases. That's up 134 from yesterday. By my math, I think it's a 1.4% increase. There are 4,921 recovered. There have been 188 deaths in the state. This is an interesting number, 926,000 tested, which is about 2% of our population. 7,500 of those tests came in since yesterday, and that's where the 134 came from. Here in Sumner County, we're reporting 608 cases and 35 deaths, and we've had about a day-to-day increase of about 0.8%. So those numbers are looking good. They're trending well. 2 things happened today. The governor did, or the Economic Recovery Group did release guidelines for gyms and exercise facilities opening on May 1st. And so that's available on Tennessee.gov. We will also put it on our website. And then later this afternoon, Governor Lee issued Executive Order 30. And that extends our ability to have or keep our buildings closed and do some other things. But it also says in there that some things still remain closed, and we'll have further guidance coming in, I guess, the future weeks. Those include things that we're asked about a lot, like bars and hair salons and nail salons. So that Executive Order 30 is what anyone would look for if they wanted more information about where we are currently with the openings. A lot of the same CDC guidelines are in place. A lot of the stuff about, whatever business that you're in, if you're opening, you need to do these things. But I think people would be particularly interested in the salon type business, the personal contact type businesses. There's also something in there regarding dental and doctor's offices too. I think that's it. Right now we have no city employees who are quarantined, which is, I think, the first time we've been there for a while. So that's good news. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for your comments. This time we'll go into our agenda for the evening. Item number 1, orders number 02004-15, rezone approximately 0.73 plus or minus acre parcel for the A agricultural residential zoning district to the R15 medium density residential zone district located east of Highway 109 and south of Old Bend Road. Authorizing the division to be indicated on the official zoning atlas, repealing conflicting orders, providing for severability and providing for an effective date Mr. Bill McCoy, City Planner. Mr. McCoy, are you?
He's muted.
I'm unmuting myself first, and I'll want to share my screen. The OK button there. And so you obviously should be familiar with this item. We had discussed this at the last council committee meeting. And this is a request to rezone a less than an acre. It's about a 3/4 acre parcel of land that's on Odom Bend Road that backs up to Bulls Creek, part of Old Hickory Lake. The property is shown here on the map. This is a map that shows our zoning districts in that area. The dark blue line, which is shown here.
Bill, sorry to interrupt. We're not seeing your screen right now. Can you try that again?
Not seeing my screen. Okay. Okay. I'm not sure why you're not seeing my screen. All right.
Larry's on his way up to help.
Can you see that screen now? Sorry for the technical difficulty.
No, we still see you.
You still see me? Well, that's not good.
No, it's not.
And
Larry's on his way up, Bill.
great. Matt's coming in. Okay, here's the screen that I thought I was saving.
Go to Zoom. Go to the blue icon.
Yeah, I thought that's where I was. Yeah, that's what we need. So I hit the share screen.
Okay. Now, yep, and then hit share.
Okay. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go. We got it now.
Sorry about that. So what I was going to point out is that the dark blue line is the current city limit line, and the property is shown in the light blue, outlined in light blue. This area that's shown in white is part of the lake reservation, Old Hickory Reservation, and the light green, the lime green, is properties that are zoned agriculture residential, which requires a minimum lot size of 2 acres. And I went over this last 2 weeks ago, but the character area for this property is also rural community, and rural community is for, as it describes, it's for development of properties or use of properties in a very low impact character area. So the zoning for agricultural residential, again, even though it requires a 2.5 acre size lot, this lot is a pre-existing non-conforming lot of record, and it's so significantly less than 2.5 acres, of course, only being 3/4 of an acre. There's an aerial photograph. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that gives you an idea of generally where it's located. It's located between 2 different houses along Bull Creek. And the applicant would like to rezone this to R15, which allows only a 15,000 square foot lot, and cut this 3/4 acre lot into 2 different lots. And this has gone to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission recommended denial of this request because of its inconsistency with the comprehensive plan character area. It also has no central utilities, no central sewer. And we've even had testimony indicating that central sewer is not only not available, but septic tanks are not capable to be installed on the property because the property won't perk. So it can't accommodate the septic tank. So that was another reason at this point, we don't think it's appropriate to consider a zoning change without sufficient policies in place that would ensure that the property would not be developed or couldn't be developed until adequate facilities are there to support this type of density. So y'all wanted to bring this back for additional discussion. I will let you know that prior to your action 2 weeks ago to continue this item. We had already sent a notice to the newspaper that there would be a public hearing, and that public hearing will occur next week. So we will have the public hearing and the first reading of an ordinance for consideration of this zoning on the 5th of May, next Tuesday. We will also provide instructions on how the public can access the website and or participate by telephone or teleconference or Zoom, whichever the case may be. And so those will be available on our website so that those persons who want to participate in that public hearing will be able to do so through a variety of means. So that's really the general description that I have to give or re-give to you tonight. And so I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
So, Mr. McCoy, did I hear you say that it would be a first reading and a public hearing next Tuesday night?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good enough.
So what's the pleasure of the body at this time? What do we need to?
Nothing. He said it's going to be on for first reading and for public hearing next Tuesday, so we don't need to do anything. It'll be on the Council of Virginia next Tuesday night.
Well, Bill,
Okay.
didn't I hear you last meeting? Didn't you say you wanted to do this with the plan we're having coming up?
Well, and that's something that we can look at because y'all had already indicated that you're going to adopt the comp plan as policy for the city council. So those are things that we could explore under certain circumstances that it might be appropriate to zone properties in a certain way when central utilities are available. And it also would maybe reconsider the current zonings and or land use designations that are applied to properties up and down Owens Bend Road and elsewhere in the city. So we pretty much have a policy in the comp plan now. Again, the comp plan is only adopted by the Planning Commission and is their policy that they discourage development of waterfront properties in Gallatin. And I'm not sure that's really what the community may want or the council may want. They may want to do that in certain areas, but they may want to allow for additional development in other areas. But there needs to be certain policies in place that certain actions need to occur before that can happen.
Any other question for Mr. McCoy or any other comments from any of the council members? If not, we'll go to item number 2. Utility agreement, Mr. Fenton, Executive Director of the EDA.
Thank you. Yes, you have before you a utility agreement for Project Woolhawk that we're still in conversation and negotiations with. I think the main thing for me to put forward this evening is that there is no fiscal liability for the construction of all the additional improvements that are needed. At least there's no fiscal liability for the city. And I would defer to Mr. Gregory, head of the Utilities Department, to ensure that that's a true statement. Otherwise, I would ask that this just gets moved forward to next week's meeting.
Any comments from Mr. Gregory?
Yes, I agree with him.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
I'll
Gregory.
make Jimmy Oak to make some motion to move it on to council.
Second.
There's been a motion by Mr. Overton, second by Mr. Hayes. All in favor? Well, electronic vote. I'm sorry.
Okay. Vice Mayor Camp, Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Fan,
Yes.
Mr. Pennell,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Ms. Love,
Yes.
yay, and Mr. Overton.
Yes.
It's a unanimous vote.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kitchell. Okay, item number 3, fiscal year 2020-2021 budget presentation, Mayor Paige Brown.
All right. Because he put up that agenda, it just reformatted me. Let me see. Okay, thank you. Can't share more than one thing at once, so let's see. All right. Come on now. Are y'all seeing it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Okay, very, very good.
seeing the pretty flowers.
Yeah, pretty flowers in front of City Hall. So I'm delighted to bring to you all the 2021 pandemic budget. I warned everyone it's not going to be a pretty budget. We're really trying to make sure we're prepared for whatever outcome happens financially with this virus, because we don't know how long it's going to go, and we don't know how deep the impact's going to go. So we prepared a pretty conservative budget, I do think. As I've told you, certainly if our revenue projections start looking better than we expected and our unemployment is dropping substantially, say September or October, then I want us to revisit this and amend the budget. Conversely, if it's going the opposite direction, unemployment is still going up and revenues are going down, then we may need to revisit it before then and make further cuts. But this right now is the one that we're putting out there for you guys' consideration. I'm gonna walk through it. I sent a PowerPoint out to the council today, and I've made some changes to it since then, so don't think that you're follow the one on the screen if you would, because there's some new slides in there that I think offer more information, because I just finished it about 20 minutes ago. So and you of course do have in your packet the full budget that was sent out last week, and there haven't really been any changes to that. There was one revenue item that was left out that we've added in, but how do I go through it? I was changing the slides before I shared it.
If you hit your right arrow button on your keyboard.
That one worked. All right, thank you. So for 2021, the status quo budget with just step increases and insurance increases would be $38,871,656. The budget that we're proposing is $38,399,898. That's $35,211,090 for operating. It's projecting $36,374,22 for revenue and $3,188,808 for capital investments. To compare the two, in 2020 we had a $39 million budget. In 2021, we're proposing a budget just a little over $38 million. It's a 1.6% decrease. To give you an idea of where we're coming from on the revenues, this compares 10 months of sales tax revenue. It shows you your local option and your state shared revenues, and this just compares July 1 through February, the end of February for 2018, 2019, and 2020. So we did those months of comparison because remember we're several months behind on getting those numbers from the state. So we were just trying to look at those and see where they might be. Looking at the property tax revenues, same months, because collections don't happen as we, as quickly as we would like them to always. But that shows you the 2018, the 2019, and the 2020 numbers for our property tax revenue. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about on the property tax, we always talk about what 1 cent brings in. Well, right now we're looking at it bringing in $155,540, which is about $5,000 less than we had projected for this year's budget. And we have found that that is due to the appeals that have happened. So I told you there were millions of dollars in valuations being appealed last year. Not all of those have happened yet. We have had an impact to date of $246,760 from those appeals, and there's still about another $350,000 potential impact from those appeals that's still out there. So basically those properties were overvalued. They were granted an appeal either by the county or by the state. And the ones at the state are the ones I think that are still happening at this time. But I did want you to just kind of be aware of that property tax impact, because as you recall, last year we went with the certified neutral rate that was given to us by the property assessor, with the understanding that we had a lot of appeals on the table and it may not shake out to bring the revenue that we were anticipating, and it has not. The total impact has been about $246,760. Like I said, there's an additional 353 something still out there potentially. There is no cost of living increase in this year's budget. I was hoping there would be, but with the situation as it is, I thought it prudent to remove that. The department.
May I ask you a question at this time?
Certainly.
You said there will be no COLA this year?
Right.
Is that permanent or at this time?
Well, I mean, I would consider it if revenues went through the roof. Realize the step increase remains in place, so that's 2.5%. It's just the cost of living that is not.
Okay, so the answer to my question is what?
What now? I'm sorry.
I was trying to see if this zero increase was permanent or was it based on if our budget changed, that this might change.
Well, I guess it could change if we really start rocking the revenues, but I think you'll see as we go through, there's a lot of needs, and without the growth, and I mean, it just really honestly depends on how robust our recovery is, and if it's stellar, then
so it could change then.
Heck yeah, we could revisit.
Okay, yeah, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
So our requests by the departments this year were $48,433,802. The budget as presented is $38,399,898. That would have $7,177,388 in our rainy day fund, and other reserve prior to this budget is $3,198,717. Our fund balance detail is that we have a total surplus as of the end of last fiscal year of $16,845,879. Our carryover projects were $3,466,440. Our new rainy day fund I just mentioned is that $7,177,388. The surplus to fund our 2021 capital that I'm asking for is $2,025,876. And then we had $2,317,45 in mid-year appropriations in this last budget year. And that would leave us with a projected total for the end of fiscal year 21 with $1,859,130, which would be additional reserve on top of the rainy day fund. Looking at revenues versus expenditures, our operating revenue versus our expenditures would be a negative $381,135. You know, I hate that, but that was as close as we could get. On the general fund revenue versus overall fund expenditures, it's $2,025,876. That would be the surplus to fund capital requests. Just showing you kind of a departmental look of the increases and decreases by department, and realize that this is just kind of something to glance at, because you know, some departments may have had a very large investment last year or had no investment last year, and that could give you a market number in the increases or decreases. And of course, larger departments versus smaller departments, it doesn't take much to increase the budget significantly. HR, I should mention that, you know, there was a position moved to that department, and planning has a fairly large investment that they've not had previously. Also, if you look under the streets line, you see that street lighting and signs. That was previously under the engineering budget, but we pulled that out this year or last year. No, this year. I think I've got my, I have those labeled wrong at the top. I apologize. It should be 1920 and 2021 at the top. I knew there would be errors here I didn't catch. So realize that first column should be the 1920, and then 2021 would be the second column. Looking at our utility costs, our revenues and expenses, you'll see that our water sewer is projecting a 4.5% increase in revenue, decreasing expenses by 3.8%. Gas is projecting a 4.5% growth in revenue, a 1.9% decrease in spending. Stormwater is projecting a 7.4% increase in revenue and a 3.4% increase in spending. And environmental services would be a 1.9% growth in revenue and a negative 5% growth in spending. On the new position requests for the City of Gallatin, there were 18 new position requests, 11 reclassification requests. I essentially cut all of the position requests with the exception of those in public utilities, because of course that's funded by a different revenue stream than our general budget. So this just gives you a look at what the position requests were. And the ones that are in red at the bottom are the public utilities requests, which are left in the budget, and there are 4 of those. On the reclassifications, there were 11 requested, and the ones that I have left in the budget that have minor impact to the general fund would be the public works ones, and then the public utility ones, for the same reason I mentioned that I left in the positions, I'm leaving in these reclassifications. Moving on to capital requests. In unfunded capital, there is $7,076,655. And just take a look through those things. These are all things that were essentially cut from the budget. Actually, let me show you a different view. I think you might have a better sense of things. And this would be well, it's not comprehensive, I guess. But so I've got it by department: city administration, city attorney, city recorder, civic center, codes, engineering, finance, fire, general government, buildings, golf, human resources, IT, parks, planning, PD, and then the street lighting and signals, the street maintenance, and then the vehicle maintenance. So it just shows you what is unfunded and a description of what that is. And then I'll show you what's in the funded capital, and you can see that middle column is what the request was, and that second column is how much was actually funded. So these are the ones that were funded, but you'll see a lot of them were not fully funded. You know, for instance, city administration office equipment, 3,500 requests, cut it to 1,500. On down, well, look at engineering roads, 4.3 million. We put 820,000 in there. Have kept repaving intact. And I should mention that there are going to be, engineering's request came to me late, and I think I failed to fix something that Public Works had requested. As we move forward with the budget process, I do see that some of these things may be rearranged a little bit so that some dollars may be taken from one line and put in a different line, and but it would still will go within that same department. This is the second page of the funded capital. One big thing that is in here, or a couple of big things that are in here, is the fire department. They've been, as you know, requesting an engine for some time. I put 497 in here towards that. The $100,000 for site development and planning is actually not really site development. That's more for the funding of rewriting the code once the comprehensive plan is completed. And then under the police department, their big expenditure is police cars for $435,000. So to sum it all up, there's $7,170,000, 463 in unfunded, and $3,188,807 in funded. One, to just give you kind of a snapshot of our general obligation debt. Our payment this year is $2,079,050. We have a principal balance of $20,905,000 and an interest balance of $5,831,131. It will actually be a little less than that once we pay this year's payment. I think those are paid off in maybe 34 and 37. It's 2 bonds. Does that sound right, Rachel? 34 and 37? I think that's correct. She may chime in and correct me here in a bit. Community enhancement requests. As you know, for several years, we've done those by an allocation committee. We have not had an allocation committee meeting because of coronavirus. But what I have done is I've gone in and just allocated amount of funds considering the cuts that we have made in other areas of the city. And I'm going to propose a number that we use for funding community enhancement grants. And then once we are able to have the allocations committee together and entertain those requests from our community nonprofits to then allocate those funds appropriately. But for starters, this was $356,000 requested by our area nonprofits for funding. And this kind of breaks down what they requested. That second column is what they requested. The first column is what they were granted in the previous year, and there are no recommended or budgeted items because I really want the allocations committee to do that. So that's a comprehensive list of everybody that has applied for funding. The total requests, like I said, are $356,130. Last year we funded $262,800, and I am proposing $236,000 this year as the budgeted amount. So that's basically what I just told you. And then that is the summary of the departmental request. The budget is presented, what remains in our rainy day fund, and what our other reserve is, which would adjust down because the other reserve actually goes down about 2 million. So that's it. That's all. And happy to take questions and discuss things or give y'all time to look it over or whatever it is that you all want to do.
Make a motion to send it to council for first reading next week by Jimmy Overton.
Second, Greg Hayes.
There been a motion by Mr. Overton, second by Mr. Hayes. Any question or comment before we have our electronic vote from any council members? If not, all right. Okay. Ms. Kittrell, electronic vote on the budget to send it on?
Vice Mayor Camp,
Aye.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Fan,
Yes.
Mr. Pennell,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Ms. Love, Ms. Love, you're muted,
Sorry, yes.
and Mr. Overton.
Yes.
It was a unanimous vote.
Thank you, Ms. Kittrell. Any other comments about the budget before we move on to item number 4? Okay, we're moving right on to item number 4. A request from Rosemont, I'm sorry. Mr. Overton.
Thank you, John D. I appreciate it. A few weeks ago, I had some discussions with Jane Sudbury and Chuck Greger. They're both listening to the meeting, so if you have any questions, you'd be glad to ask them. But due to this virus, Rosemont hasn't been able to have any fundraisers and has not been able to generate any revenue. So they need to survive until they can have some fundraisers and get some revenue in place. Just to let you know, this week they did apply for the PPP and their request got approved for $5,000. And I've been speaking with the mayor and with Rachel. We also have $5,000 we've had in there for maintenance, and we can switch that over so they can use this to be able to pay for their help and to pay their utility bills. But guys, we don't want Rosemont to fail. We own them. The city owns them. We don't want them to fail. So we've got to help them try to survive until they can get back on their feet. So my only request would be, and I don't think we have to make any motions, I think we just have to state it in an open meeting, is that we're allow them to use the $5,000 that we've had in their budget right currently and let them use it to be able to pay their help and to pay their utility bills and stuff with it.
And that's in their current budget right now?
Yes, that's correct, Greg.
No, okay. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I think we actually would have to move it because that's actually in a maintenance and repair budget for the city.
I spoke to Rachel about it just a little bit ago, Paige, and she said as long as we made it clear in here that we wouldn't have to.
Okay.
So that's what she told me just a little bit ago. As long as we made it clear what we're doing with it, that we will be okay.
Y'all are ahead of me then. Cool.
Are we on page, city attorney?
And they may have to come back, in July or August or whatever and get some more help until they can get some income coming. But this will help them a lot to get through the next 2 or 3 months and hopefully survive. And we don't have to take Rosemont back. So
Jimmy, are you asking for only that 5,000 to be transferred?
Yeah.
Will that be enough?
Yes, because they applied for the PPP and got granted some money from that as well. So they've got enough money between that and between this 5,000 we have already in their budget. They have enough to survive for a few days for 2 or 3 or 4 months. And then once they get low, if it's before they get any money from us after our budget takes effect in July, then they can come back to us. But this will help them get over this hurdle that they're in. And Jane's on here, and I think Chuck's on here as well, if y'all need to ask them any questions.
Well, I do know that they need the money and that we don't want to lose Rosemont city owns it. This is a historic area, and we don't want to have another situation where we lose another historic building. And a lot of this goes towards utilities and just keeping the place going.
That's right.
So I think the motion on the floor is to use that $5,000 that they have in the utility budget to pay the staff or whatever they do, take it from there. Is that correct, Jimmy?
Yeah, but according to Rachel, we didn't really need to make a motion. We just need to state that we're okay with her moving that over and letting them use that to pay their expenses and stuff. So if we need to make a motion, we can put it on the agenda for next week.
Well, we'll just ask our city attorney, do we need to make a motion or not?
Rachel's on here. We can just ask Rachel. She's here.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to the finance director on that issue.
Okay.
That's a finance issue.
Okay.
If you want to just, I had assumed you were just going to write them a check for the full amount and then they would deposit in their bank account and do with it as they willed.
That's correct.
You can do that. You can pay the check out of the current line if you want to. It, as the mayor said, it's in a maintenance and repair building account. If you would prefer to transfer it over to their normal nonprofit line and then pay it from there, we could do either one.
However you want us to do it, Rachel, you tell us and we'll do it that way.
If everyone would feel cleaner with it being through their normal account, I will have paperwork next week for an ordinance to move it.
That'll be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so we did have a motion by Mr. Overton. Ms. Love, did you second that?
Well, no, I didn't, but I will.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Certainly will.
Okay, there's been a motion by Mr. Overton, a second by Ms. Love, and we'll have electronic vote by Ms. Kitchell.
Councilman Camp,
First to close it, I sit on that board and I vote yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Fan,
Yes.
Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Ms. Love,
I also sit on that board and I vote yes.
and Mr. Overton.
Yes. And John D., we can ask Jane if she got any other requests, but I think she's here. She's on the call.
Okay. Right now, that'll do. That'll help.
Thanks, Jane.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, anything else on Rosemont?
No, sir, that's all for me.
Okay. Now we're on to other business. Any council member have any other business they wish to bring before the council at this time? I see none from the council members. Department heads, any department heads have any comments, statements they would like to make at this time? Any department heads?
Yes, sir. Council, I just want to report last night we had a planning commission meeting and we had one item on the agenda that is going to be on your agenda in the future. It was a request for an annexation and a rezoning with a master development plan for phase 15 of Twin Eagles development. And the planning commission, after taking probably well over an hour of comments, ultimately voted to unanimously to deny both the annexation and plan of service and the rezoning request. So this will be coming to you on May the 12th, I believe. Yes, May the 12th, which is our next county council committee meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Any other department heads? Any other department heads? If not, I'll move for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion. Do we need to vote on that too?
No, because it's at the end of the agenda, you don't have to vote to adjourn. You can just adjourn the meeting.
All right. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, we don't have to. Okay, we're adjourned. I'm sorry. We're adjourned.
Bye, everybody.
Ah.
Thank y'all.
Ah.